An important part of the sEMG-based switch is its ability to communicate with current AAC devices. This is achieved through the use of a 3.5mm mono-pin audio jack shown here. Unfortunately, this jack is unable to connect to the sEMG-based switch in its current form and must be altered via soldering. This video will illustrate the soldering process step by step. You will need a soldering iron and solder, 2 wires with male pin connectors at the ends, a 3.5mm audio jack pin, wire cutters / strippers, soldering clips, and a wet sponge. If you have heat protectant gloves, put them on now. The iron you're using is very hot and can potentially burn you. Please be careful. Always work on a heat-proof surface, such as a cutting board or this desktop. Okay, now it's time to prepare your wires. Take 1 wire in your hand. Perfect. And cut the wire just at the base of the pin that is not the male pin you want to use. Great. Now it's time to strip the wire. Do so by clenching the wire strippers about a ½ inch from the cut end and gently pull away from the wire. This will slide the plastic coating, exposing the metal wire contained inside. Do this to the other pin. Gather your soldering clamps and the 3.5mm audio jack pin. Okay, unscrew the red cap from the audio jack pin. 2 pins will be exposed. Pins are just metal protrusions that connect electrical components. This is what we will be soldering to extend the capability of this jack. Okay. The larger pin is a little bit easier to see and has 2 metal protrusions that point in the opposite direction. The smaller pin is on top of that one and still has an extra hole. Okay. Clip the audio jack pin into the soldering clips. Make sure to clip it at the audio jack and not at the pins. Take a wire in your hand. Twist the ends as the inner metal wire may have frayed. Loop it up through the smaller hole and lay it flat on the audio pin, on the audio jack's pin. Clamp the other end in the soldering clip. Now it's time to solder. This soldering iron is a Saiwan brand available at Amazon.com. Most lab spaces and hardware workshops have a soldering iron, but this one is.
No, you're doing great. Okay, faster.
Okay, so this particular iron turns on as soon as it's plugged into the outlet. Other irons may necessitate that you toggle a switch. The temperature setting set by this dial is determined by the kind of solder that you're using. Be sure to research this and match the temperature setting, or else the solder will not melt. Allow your iron to heat up for 10 minutes before use. Once your iron is heated up, take it in your dominant hand and grab your solder with the other. However, the solder and the iron over the wire on the audio jack. Touch the 2 together to form a molten bubble. Use the tip of the soldering iron to spread out the molten bubble. Add more bubbles as needed. You'll know you're done when the wire is safely in place and there is visible solder. Now, let the audio pin cool, as the solder may have caused it to heat up. Perfect. Once it's cool to the touch, gently turn the audio pin such that the smaller pin is on top. Twist the ends of the wires of the remaining male connecting wire and loop it through the smaller hole. You'll notice that this is more difficult as the pin is smaller. Flip the other end into the soldering clip. It's important that the two wires do not touch each other, as this will mix signals and cause the switch not to function. You may want to trim this wire. Now repeat the same soldering that you did for the larger audio pin. You may notice that we are cleaning off the soldering iron with the wet sponge. Do this whenever the molten bubbles have stuck to the soldering iron and have created a mass. This will disrupt your soldering and ruin your masterpiece. Let the audio pin cool again, as the soldering iron may have caused it to heat up. Once it is cool to the touch, release it release the audio pin from the snaps. String the pins through the larger end of the audio jack pin casing. You may need to do this one at a time. That's okay. Screw the casing back around the audio pin. Congratulations, your pin is now ready for use. Okay, ready?